Good evening and welcome to Hanukkah in a New Light. As President of the Board of Deputies of British Jews, the national representative body of the UK Jewish community for over 260 years, it is an absolute honour to be co-hosting tonight's special event with the Jewish News. During this unprecedented time of crisis, being able to host this historic occasion embodies the true spirit of Hanukkah. During a year of difficulty and darkness for all, the Abraham Accords and the subsequent agreements with Sudan and Morocco heralded a new light. Tonight's event celebrates that remarkable achievement and the possibilities that it brings. It is fitting that our choir this evening is from the wonderful Sachs Morasha Jewish Primary School, which bears the name of Chief Rabbi Lord Sachs, whose passing last month we mourn. Rabbi Lord Sachs once said, "Others wait for something to happen. Leaders help make something happen. While others curse the darkness, a leader sheds light." This could not be truer than the leadership shown by the United Arab Emirates, the Kingdom of Bahrain, and the State of Israel. The Abraham Accords are a pioneering example of the peaceful and prosperous partnerships that can and should exist in the region. The Board of Deputies is incredibly proud of our ever strengthening relationship with embassies for the Kingdom of Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates. Months before the Accords were announced, we had already started work with both of you, including a wonderful event with the Bahrain Embassy at Lauderdale Road Synagogue last February. Your Excellency, Sheikh Fawaz bin Mohammed Al Khalifa, and Your Excellency Mansour Abu Hul, thank you for being with us this evening. I hope that our work together can continue to develop. Your Excellency Zippy Hotoveli, I am so pleased to welcome you to your second Board of Deputies Hanukkah event. We first hosted you in 2016 when you were Deputy Foreign Minister. However, tonight, I warmly welcome you as the Ambassador of the State of Israel. I would also like to thank James Cleverly MP for Middle East and North Africa for being with us. The support of the UK government for the Abraham Accords has been so very deeply appreciated. And James, we continue to value your long-standing friendship. As I hand over to our Master of Ceremonies tonight, Jewish News Editor Richard Ferrer, I would like to wish you all Chanukah Sameach and for our continued health and happiness for you and all your loved ones. Thank you, Richard.
Good evening, Shalom, Marhavan, Hanukkah Sameach. I'm Richard Ferrer, as Marie very kindly introduced me. It is my enormous pleasure to be hosting tonight's black tie optional Jewish News Board of Deputies event called Hanukkah in a New Light, a very appropriate title. Tonight is a chance for us to come together to celebrate not only the Festival of Lights, but the start of a bright, new, warm cooperation and friendship between Israel and two of its most important Middle Eastern neighbours, Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates. We're shortly going to hear from all three of tonight's special guests. And we're also going to hear from James Cleverly, the MP and Minister for Middle East and North Africa, as Marie said at the start. Before I introduce the Ambassador of Israel, I'd like to mention the other two very important guests that we have here this evening. His Excellency Sheikh Fawaz bin Mohammed Al Khalifa, the Ambassador of Bahrain to the UK, and His Excellency Mansour Abu Hul, the Ambassador of the United Arab Emirates to the UK. But first, as I said, to get the evening off to an auspicious start, I'm delighted to introduce Israel's new ambassador to the UK, Her Excellency Tzipi Hotovely, to say a few words. Ambassador, over to you.
Hanukkah Sameach. I'm really delighted to be here with you. It is a real pleasure to be here with my dear friends, Ambassador Mansour and Ambassador Fouaz. It is an honor to be joined by the Middle East Minister, James Cleverly. And I want to thank the President of the Board of Deputies, Marie van der Zyl. Marie, you're wonderful. You're really making history this evening. I want also to thank to the team on the Jewish News for bringing us together. Hanukkah is a Jewish festival of freedom. When our people celebrate regaining liberty in our homeland over 2,000 years ago, this ancient story is still relevant today. The modern state of Israel is 72 years old, and it too is a champion of freedom. Jews, Muslims, and Christians can pray together. We can worship freely. We can visit the holy sites. This is something we can all celebrate. Hanukkah is also a festival of light. We celebrate the Hanukkah miracle by lighting our candles. And this year we are celebrating in the light of peace. I'm deeply proud that we are building a warm peace with our Emirati and Bahraini friends. And I believe our peace is inspiring even more countries to join us. Last week, we heard the wonderful news that Israel is establishing relations with Morocco. Only a few weeks before, my country agreed to normalize relations with Sudan. And Israel is grateful that Britain has welcomed and encouraged each of these steps. Because Britain has special and historic ties to each one of our countries, and Britain is a dear friend of ours. Thank you very much, Minister Cleverly, for joining us tonight. And thank you for all the great support you give to all those peace agreements. Without a doubt, this is a new era in the history of the Middle East, an era where our people can meet, speak, trade, and travel, an era where we can get to know each other as neighbors and as friends, an era where we can create more prosperity and security for our peoples. So as we celebrate the light of Hanukkah, let us celebrate the bright future peace is bringing to our region, and let us look to the future with hope and optimism. Thank you very much, and Hanukkah Sameach.
You too, Ambassador Hotovely. Fantastic. From Israel, in classic Eurovision style, we are now going to go to Bahrain and His Excellency Ambassador Sheikh Fawaz bin Mohammed Al Khalifa. Ambassador.
President van der Zyl, Your Excellencies, dear friends, it is my great pleasure to join you for this candle ceremony as we celebrate Hanukkah with all of you in the United Kingdom, Israel, and UAE. In particular, I'm delighted to join Mr. Ibrahim Nunu, head of the Bahrain Jewish community, and Her Excellency Huda Nunu. As you may know, she's the first Arab Jewish ambassador when His Majesty King Hamad appointed her to represent Bahrain in Washington, D.C. We are here this evening at Ambassador Nunu's residence in Bahrain, while the Kingdom's synagogue undergoes an extensive program of renovation, which will soon see it open and welcome worshippers from our valued and thriving Jewish community. In Bahrain, we are proud of the diverse faith communities who have made the kingdom their home, and the many places of worship which we host. Indeed, Bahrain is far more than a center of tolerance. It is, in reality, a powerful example of how religion, culture, nationality can genuinely work closely and effectively together for their common benefit. From this deep-rooted culture of openness and mutual respect, Bahrainis have always sought to reach out to their neighbors and beyond, and to build bridges of friendship and trust with all of those who share these values. These were the foundations for the Bahrain signing this year's Abraham Accords, and the reason we have moved so quickly with the United Arab Emirates and the State of Israel to build a strong and lasting framework for real partnership, not just between our countries, but also between our peoples. Already, we have arrangements in place for direct flights, visas, and opening embassies, and I have no doubt that these will be just the start of a wide-ranging people-to-people contact at all levels to deliver genuine and enduring peace, security, and prosperity. I certainly look forward for being part of this process and to making and reinforcing new friendships across the Middle East. Ladies and gentlemen, in a year when hope often seemed in short supply, the Abraham Accords are a reason to look ahead with at least some confidence towards the possibility of a new era of peace for the Middle East and an era of understanding between all faiths and peoples of our region. Thank you. Hanukkah Samaya. Happy Hanukkah.
Your warm and wise words. It's amazing that we're here all together to celebrate in this way. Now our third honoured guest, His Excellency Mansour Abu Khul, Ambassador of the United Arab Emirates. I think it's worth noting at this point that together with my Jewish News colleague, who's also esteemed, may I say, Justin Cohen, the ambassador discussed holding tonight's event 2 months ago. That was the first conversation that was ever had about tonight's event, and here we all are. So, Ambassador, thank you very much for making tonight possible.
You're very much welcome.
My colleague ambassadors, Ambassador Khotibeli and Sheikh Fawaz, as well as Minister James Cleverly, who does so much to ensure that our missions are successful here in the UK. It is a fitting end to a year when I've experienced so much warmth from my encounters with the UK Jewish community. Tonight is no different. I speak for all the staff at the embassy when I express sincere thanks for the kindness and the spirit of collaboration that we have all felt. And we are delighted to be involved in a Hanukkah celebration this year. It has been fascinating to learn more about the religious and historical significance of tonight's ceremony, including the use of oil. As one of the world's major oil producers, it is a subject the UAE knows something about. For those of you who have spent time with Emiratis, you will know we have notoriously a sweet tooth. So any religious festival that involves eating donuts is going to be popular in the UAE. And I have some traditional Emirati donuts, which are called gemat, which I hope we can enjoy later on. As the year draws to a close, we end 2020 wishing to forget the suffering and worry that the pandemic has brought. As the late Lord Sachs, whose recent death was another sad moment, once wrote, "There are always two ways to live. In a world that is often dark and full of tears, we can curse the darkness or we can light a light." The light that we lit this year was the historic Abraham Accords, when the UAE, Israel, Bahrain forged a new path. We believe it will help bring peace and prosperity to a region that desperately needs it. And now we have received the fantastic news that Morocco is to join us in forging a new relationship with Israel. As we have said many times before, we are determined to build a warm peace. We want a deep relationship encompassing all aspects of national and cultural life. That means people-to-people contact at all levels. And although we are far from the Middle East, it is a spirit that comes together in London tonight. Last Thursday, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai was lit up to mark the start of Hanukkah. A live concert was held in front of the building. Hundreds of people were involved in the celebration. Over time, I hope Hanukkah celebrations will become unremarkable across the Arab world. Jewish people throughout the region should be able to mark their religious festivals as freely and joyously as the UAE's Jewish community. As the years go by, we will see more and more menorahs lit in the UAE as Israelis come to visit us. Some will even decide to stay longer to live or work. Some will end up calling the UAE their home. They will find a friendly country that embraces diversity and is genuinely happy to have them. Alongside our work on the Accords, next year, we'll see the construction of the Abrahamic Family House in Abu Dhabi. When it opens in 2022, visitors will experience a beautiful garden on the shores of the Arabian Sea containing a synagogue, church and mosque. The Abrahamic Family House will be an extraordinary manifestation of the UAE's commitment to the freedom of worship, a principle enshrined in our constitution. And it will be a living symbol of the shared values of the Abrahamic faiths. In that spirit of peace and hope, I wish you Chanukah Sameach.
Ambassador. Look, I'm pleased to say that also with us tonight is someone who's going to be working very closely with our three honoured guests in the months and hopefully in the years to come. The UK's Minister for the Middle East and North Africa, James Cleverly MP. Minister, over to you.
Thank you, and shalom. I would like to thank both the Board of Deputies and Jewish News for hosting this virtual event, and it is a genuine honour to speak alongside ambassadors, their excellencies Hotovely, Abulhul and Al Khalifa. This year we celebrate Hanukkah in circumstances unlike any that we have seen before. This is a chance to pause and to remember all those who we have lost as a result of COVID. And I know the impact of the pandemic on the Jewish community in the UK has been particularly acute. And sadly, this year we also witnessed the passing of Rabbi Lord Sachs, whose leadership and wisdom and humanity touched the lives of so many in the Jewish community, but also far beyond the Jewish community. But as we light the menorah this year, we can see light at last. With vaccinations being administered, we look ahead to 2021 with optimism and hope. And as previous speakers have remarked, a great cause of hope is the recent normalization between Israel, the UAE, Bahrain, as well as Sudan, and most recently, Morocco. And we are proud, the UK is proud to have been one of the first countries to welcome these agreements. We're committed to ensuring that these agreements are an enduring success, and we will work closely with Israel, the UAE, and Bahrain to promote shared prosperity and regional stability and security. The UK is also optimistic that normalization will lead to further steps towards peace in the Middle East. As new friendships are forged in the region, the UK will continue to promote peace and prosperity for all. And please allow me to end by wishing you all a very happy Hanukkah and all the best for the new year. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here with us all this evening. And so we arrive at the main event of the evening, the candle lighting ceremony, taking place in 5 locations simultaneously. This has cost us an absolute fortune in Hanukkahs, but of course, it's very well worth it. Ambassador Hotovely is going to recite the blessing for the candles, while in an act of unity and togetherness, the ambassadors of Bahrain and the UAE, along with the minister, are going to simultaneously light tonight's 6th candle. Once the 6th candle has been lit, Cantor Jonny Turgel is going to lead us all in the singing of traditional Hanukkah songs, Hanerot, Hallelujah, and of course, Ma'at Sor. the Hey Jude of Hanukkah songs. So wherever you are, be it sunny Bahrain or rainy Finchley, where I am, do sing along. Ambassador Hotovely, it's over to you.
Thank you. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של חנוכה. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשה ניסים לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה. אתם רוצים להביא עכשיו תחנות?
הנרות הללו אנחנו מדליקים על הניסים ועל התשועות ועל הנפלאות שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם הזמן הזה על ידי כהניך הקדושים וכל שמונת ימי חנוכה הנרות הללו קודש הם ואין לנו רשות להשתמש בהם אלא לראותם בלבד כדי להודות לשמך הגדול על ניסיך ועל ישועתך ועל נפלאותיך. Everyone together please with Maso. Maso to Yeshuati lechana el shabeya tikol beit tefilati v'sham toda nizabeya liyeit tachinem adbeyach mitzar hamnabeyach az egmor b'shir mizmor Chanukah hamizbeyach az egmor b'shir mizmor Chanukah hamizbeyach. 3 times a day we pray. And each time we pray, we conclude our prayers in the same way. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We ask God who dwells on high to bring us peace, peace for all of Israel and the entire world. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav ya'aseh shalom Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh Shalom imromav hu yaseh, Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, ve'imeru, Amen. Beautiful composition written by Stephen Levy in celebration of Israel's birth. Oseh shalom, shalom imromav hu yaseh, shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shalom imromav hu yaseh, Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, ve'imeru.
Wow, that was a rousing end. We've reached the end of an extraordinary half hour. I think tonight is an event that I don't think anyone in their wildest dreams could have thought would be possible even a year ago. So I think we'll all count ourselves very lucky to have witnessed such a special event on such a special festival. All that remains for me is to, on behalf of the Jewish News, thank our partners, the Board of Deputies, our three honoured guests, of course, and the Minister for being with us this evening, but also our media partners, Times of Israel, the Khulish Times, our sponsors, the MS Foundation, and the UK Israel Business, our partners, UAE Israel Business Council, the UK UAE Business Council, UK Israel Business, and of course Steinrich Communications, and of course not forgetting Justin Cohen for conceiving and producing tonight's event, and Leo Mindel and his amazing team at Shock AV. A hearty Hanukkah Sameach to you all, and here's to a year of peace, salam in 2021, when hopefully we can invite even more Middle East ministers and ambassadors for an event in real life. Now, wouldn't that be something to wish for? So now, to sing us out with their toe-tapping version of the beautiful Hebrew song, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, peace will yet come to us. Here is the wonderful Sax Morasha Jewish Primary School Choir. Take it away, Sax Morasha.